stress and there's bad stress, but anything that makes you uncomfortable or takes you out of your own happiness, that I would say that qualifies as stress.
So can you define the difference between good stress and bad stress?
Well, good stress is stress that motivates you, sometimes when you're listening to music at the gym and, you're like getting all pumped and that kind of thing, that's good stress. Bad stress is stress where you start to feel like there's an elephant on your shoulder and you're just like, oh my gosh, I feel like I have so many emails, I have so many people to get back to. Or stress can be like when you've heard that you've had like really negative medical outcome and you start to worry. Worry becomes a huge part of stress as well. If you are stressed, one of the best things you can do is something with focus, like writing. Like if you need to write, a report or something like that. That's the best thing for you to do because it gets you focused. And then once you're done with that, the thing that happens is your mind is much more geared to make best decisions. I know for me, I used to have a really, really negative thought pattern. And all of the thoughts, the committee that would go on in my head, it was always negative. It was always like, why aren't you doing this? You should be doing this. You have to do this. And one of the things I started learning is anything, don't should all over yourself. When I'm putting the words have to on me, I'm really not being very kind to myself.
True, we are so busy, and what's the unfortunate part is that we're only going to become busier. And the reason that is because the technology is getting faster, but we are human beings. We are not human doings. We've developed this ADD, we can't focus on one thing for longer than 3 seconds because we have so many things that are demanding our attention.
So what do you do? If you're at your desk, you're multitasking. What do you do to concentrate on one thing at a time when other things might be more pressing at that moment?
Well, I think what's most important is to prioritize. What do you most not want to do? So if I most do not want to answer this particular email because I have to break some news that I really don't want to break, the best thing to do is do that first.
I used to be a person who had very, very little self-esteem, and sometimes I think that we get this idea that if we have really low self-esteem, there's no way. We're just born with it. We were unpopular in high school. Everybody hated us. We were picked on, whatever it is, and that can never change. And I'm kind of like I think of myself as kind of an example of someone who had very low self-esteem and has really grown into someone who does have healthy self-esteem.
Well, one of the things to keep in mind is when you're setting a New Year's resolution, the number one thing you want to think of is this practical? Is this a practical resolution? If you're like, well, I'm going to lose 20 pounds and I'm going to do it by the end of, January, guess what? That's probably not going to happen. So the number one thing I talk about with my clients and with people who, ask me to speak is doing it in bite-sized pieces. And what's so great about that is that you can say, okay, I didn't do it today, but that doesn't mean I can't do it tomorrow. It's really that one day at a time. We've only got this 24-hour period of time. What am I going to get done in this 24-hour period of time that's going to move me towards that New Year's resolution that I set back on January 1st.
I'm going to try and give you a few tools today to help you to keep the focus on yourself so that when you have that impulse to try and change someone else, like your mom or your dad or your brother or your sister or your dog, well, actually, I guess a dog you could take to obedience school, but your boyfriend or your girlfriend or your husband or your wife, anyone, when you have that impulse to change someone, what are the tools that you can do?